And here we go. This is the rabid, desperate attempt to convince the world that what she did and what we've seen her do is all just beautiful chaos. Just a beautiful mess. Just the crooked and winding and whimsical, but still freeing and full of divine energy journey that it takes to become a queen. All right? You don't become a queen by, treating people with dignity and respect. God forbid it. You better take out that sword and don't slay dragons. Why don't you slay your husband? Slay all the people in your way. And while you're at it, make sure you take ayahuasca. Because without it, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find all the enlightenment that's out there. Well, hello. Look what just came in the mail. Can you even wait? I can't wait to get into this. When I opened this yesterday, it came in the mail yesterday, and it's sitting in the box. I opened up the box. It's the back side of the book's up. This is what the back of the book says. A queen is her own savior. Her magic is quiet, potent, and mysterious. The drivel. Can you imagine that being what you put on the back of the book? It's like, that doesn't even make any sense. And none of the book makes any sense so far as I can see. When I read Spare, I thought I had reached the pinnacle of ridiculous. It's like, there's no other book I'm going to read after this that is as stupid as this. And then Jada Pinkett Smith was like, hold my beer. I got a book to write. And she wrote this. This book, I read the first chapter last night, the preface. Whole paragraphs were like she threw a bunch of words into a bag, shook them up, threw them on the ground, arranged them into what kind of looked like sentences, and called it a day. And her editor was like, let's put the stamp of approval on that since you're a famous person. Literally, I'm gonna be reading some passages to you, and then we're all just gonna be like, wait, what? What does that mean? What does it mean? Because it's so much new age drivel. It's so much trash. And at the end of the chapter, I said to myself, at what point did she stop trying to learn anything for real and she just started reading spell books and reciting new age mantras? Because this is like shocking that anybody has been able to walk through life with such an insignificant amount of intellect. She's trying to set the stage for us to be on her side. And it isn't that I'm trying to walk into this thinking about the fact that, okay, this is a human being. She's got her own side of the story. She's got her own experiences. I was like, I'm gonna walk through this and just try to be really fair. The reality is I've been watching her for a while, just like you guys have. And I've been watching somebody who's incredibly destructive and narcissistic and mean and cruel and like looks to embarrass other people to elevate herself. I'm looking at somebody who has a really, really annoying way of being super condescending in interviews. She sits there and quietly nods while she waits for you to attain her level of mental elevation. She's just got such a great idea of who she is. And she just is so sort of like worn out by the fact that the world is taking so long to reach her sense of nirvana. She's ridiculously annoying. But even with all that said, I was like, okay, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to try to be really fair. And then I read just the preface. And first of all, she keeps making huge, wild statements that the world was so bad that she felt like she was going to have to take herself out of it. And she just couldn't get herself together. And she was, rushing towards a wall at 100 miles an hour. She knew a crash was coming, but she won't tell us what's wrong. And it's just so annoying because it's like, all right, but you're being super dramatic. You want me to be on your side. You want me to see it from your perspective. You're just saying a lot of superlative things. It was the worst. It was horrific. It couldn't have gotten any worse. It was just, I knew I couldn't sustain another minute past my 40s. It's like, but do you want to bring us into what was wrong? And what part are you playing in it, But I'm just telling you right now, you're going to want to sit down, maybe to have a stiff drink, because this lady is ridiculous in the sense that she wants us to keep believing that everything that we've seen, don't believe your lying eyes. You think that she's a monster, but actually she was on a beautiful journey to become a beautiful queen. This is the heroine's journey. And the heroine's journey isn't a straight trajectory in which you're going out and slaying dragons and winning every time. In fact, it's so much chaos. It's so much confusion. It's so much people think you're hurting them, but really you're on a personal journey, and you have the right to hurt everybody in your path if you're trying to find out who you are. People need to be more understanding of the fact that you just slashed their heart, because the truth is you were trying to love you, and if that means their feelings got hurt, literally she says, I'm going to have to hurt some people along the way so I can learn to love myself better. If your journey is love, then you can't be just lashing out with a sword and being like, oh, are you hurting? That's okay, because I'm feeling great right now. Are you bleeding out? Well, figure out some way to fix you, because I'm on the journey to fix me. It's so infantile. It's so ridiculous. I'm like, how old are you again? This is how you've gone through life? How have you been successful at all? My only thought is that this woman is practicing witchcraft and that she's got a spell on everyone. In reality, there's some kind of supernatural force that's allowing her to be successful, because she's the most objectionable human being I've ever witnessed. And now reading her own words, I'm like, confirm. This lady is the worst. I thought that Meghan was as bad as it could be. I thought Meghan Markle was just unmatched in obnoxiousness. We can't find anybody worse than Meghan. But suddenly a new contender has arisen. So, okay, let's just get into this. Before we do, to make sure that you're getting all of the episodes on this book, if you would just subscribe and also hit the bell for notifications. That way this book will come up in your feed, because since I've been doing another book and now I'm transitioning to some episodes on this one as well, I just want to make sure you're getting all the content. So if you'll just hit that bell, then you'll get everything from this book. Okay, now the book starts out with, of course, the obligatory liar's clause, which says, oh, by the way, you're going to read a lot of things that people are not going to agree actually happened, but it's all in the spirit of how I felt. It's my journey. She literally says, in recounting my journey, I've included scenes and conversations and descriptions of encounters with others that are not intended to be word for word reenactments. I'm just trying to recall those moments in the spirit in which they took place. So, if you don't understand exactly where I got any of this, it's just that I'm basing it off of how I feel that it went, and how I feel that it was probably going to go, or how it made me feel in the moment. I'm not so worried about facts, but I am very worried about feelings. And then she wants to let you know, I want to emphasize that I'm not an expert trained in any form of therapy. Yeah, we know. We've seen what you did to Will. I don't think any of us were under any delusion that you were some sort of a exceptional therapist leading us all to glory. And then in the last bit, she wants all of us to know that if you're struggling with your mental health, you should not be alone, and you need to reach out for help at her website. And she gives us, her website. And it's like, look, if I'm looking for resources, I'd probably be better off just Googling it and accepting the first 3 hits, rather than going to Jada Pinkett Smith's website for mental health. I was like, that's probably where your mental health struggle would begin, if you decided to go all in on Jada Pinkett Smith's, lovely version of how to do family life and love. All right, let's get started on this prologue, which is named The Heroine's Journey. So she starts this chapter out where she has agreed to go and meet this medicine woman. The medicine woman is going to hopefully pull her up out of this extreme funk she's found herself in. Now, she has reached the point where life is no longer worth living. She believes that she is not giving anything to the world, and she wants to just take herself out. She's been planning this for a while. But then the universe has dropped into her consciousness the knowledge of this woman right there in California who can maybe, with plant medicine, help her realize that, she's not lost at all. She just hasn't got the right tools. So she's right there. She's about to drive down the hill towards this medicine woman. And that's where she starts this prologue. She says, I take a couple of deep breaths, trying to calm myself. I feel crazy. Sometimes feelings don't lie, Jada. My mind, which was so focused on getting here, is now suddenly betraying me, leaving me to feel vulnerable in ways that I hate. In this moment, I'm pounded by the same terrifying feelings I felt in the past experiences when I put myself in situations that it's a miracle I lived to tell. The scariest aspect of these incidents was that whether I lived or died was in someone else's hands. Okay, I just want to say real quick, Jada, that you just said you put yourself in the situations, and now you're saying that they were so scary because it was up to somebody else whether you lived or died in all these situations. But you just said you put yourself there. Why have you made a pattern in your life of doing dangerous things and then wanting to be a victim to the places that you put yourself in? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not saying that once you got there, yeah, there were people who wanted to victimize you. But if you knew it was a dangerous situation, why are you consistently finding yourselves in high risk places? What's the story there? Well, I guess she's going to tell us. She says that she sat there in the driveway for a long time, and she's very, very dramatic about her feelings there. She says that she was praying with all her heart, as sincerely as possible. She was pressing her hands together. She was desperately trying to steady her mind. Don't be afraid, I tell myself. You're in peaceful, beautiful California. Why are you so scared? Because, I answer right back, what if this actually kills me? 3 months earlier, in the wake of my 40th birthday, my biggest worry was, well, what if it doesn't? All right, I know we're supposed to respect everybody's claims that they were just, one step away from ending it all. But I feel like somebody who is this excited by drama, adventure, risk, dragging other people under so she can feel better about herself. I feel like somebody who's this narcissistic probably wouldn't end it all, because their very lifeblood is them. Why would they end them? They're the best thing that ever happened. So it's just like, I really am not saying that she didn't feel low. She probably does. I mean, if you walk through life being this hateful to everybody, you've got to go to bed with you at night, right? You got to lay your head on the pillow and be like, how was I today? How did I treat the people I say that I love? And, she knows the truth to that. So if she felt low down, I mean, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, did she really want to end it all, or did she love the drama of saying that? I'm going to opt with the second. She continues, for 2 decades, I've been putting on a good face, going with the flow, telling everybody I was okay. Yet underneath, bouts of depression and overwhelming hopelessness and smoldering until they turn into a raging hellfire in my broken heart. Unwelcome feelings of not deserving love made it harder to understand the disconnect between the so-called perfect life I had achieved and the well of loss I carried with me. Therapy helped to a point, got me to 40, but to what end? I just want to pump the brakes real quick on this, description of her overwhelming hopelessness and smoldering sense of not deserving love. I find it odd that if she has really experienced love deprivation and she knows the pain of that, why does she torture her husband with public humiliation and just emotional abuse all day? If for her, she can pinpoint the fact that she feels so desperately alone to the point of, I don't feel like I deserve love, then why would you ever issue that into somebody else's life, publicly humiliating them because they don't deserve to be loved? Will does not deserve to be loved because that's why she keeps publicly humiliating him. If he deserved love, then she'd give it to him, but he has to pay for what he's done. So she needs to make sure the world is coming to him with their hands open, waiting for payment. So this, I'm sorry, lady, I have no pity for you whatsoever that you say, my real problem was that I felt like I wasn't deserving of love. If you know that that's so detrimental, why are you doing that to other people? She says that later she was diagnosed with complex trauma with PTSD and disassociation. But, she hadn't had that guidepost. She would just be a chronic mess with no fix and no possibility of healing. So now that she knows what's wrong with her, it's not really helping her, Before she was just walking around as a mess, and now she's walking around as a mess with a name on it, but she's really not sure how to get out of it. She says that every morning waking up was like walking the plank of doom. Could I make it to 4 p.m.? If I could, I'd survive the day. Does your day end at 4 p.m.? I feel like my day's just starting at 4 p.m. because, you get up, you go to work, and then, it's time to be off work. But then it's like, okay, now we cook dinner and we do homework and we do all sorts of like family things. Why does the day end for her at 4 p.m.? Does that mean she could start drinking? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what? I don't understand that personal achievement of getting to 4 p.m. What's 4 p.m.? What does that mean? Are you going back to bed at 4 p.m.? Like, what? How's the day over then? She says that she always wanted to sleep, but she could never sleep well. And what kept her going was her children. Her children put a smile on her face, and that was her motivation. But she could feel herself losing her connection to them. She was just losing her grip on them. Okay, well, that's twofold. Number one, you're losing your grip on your kids because they can't be your emotional security anymore. So they're looking to avoid you because it's hard. It's hard to be with you because you need too much from them. So when you come in with all of your emotional, unsettled feelings, they're just going to dip out, just going to find something to do in their room. They're going to go be with their friends because you're hard. But then number two, it's not okay that their job in life, according to you, is that they make you feel better. You know, because whether you've officially ascribed their job in life as you have to make mama feel better, they know that. They know that you're emotionally dependent on them. And nobody can do that. No human being can be everything to anybody else. And it's like, if you value the relationship you have with other people, don't make them carry the burden of your emotional well-being. You will kill that relationship if you really care about it. Well, she goes on to say that one of her other problems was that she just had been going through life checking off boxes meant to define being enough to deserve having it all. What that meant to me was that I would be enough to be loved in a way that life didn't hurt anymore. Those boxes I'd been checking had not delivered the gifts that had been promised. I followed the rules. The rules we're told to follow. You work hard. You make sacrifices for those you love. The rules tell you, be a doting mother and a doting wife. Do the work required and life turns into paradise. Nope. A loving relationship, harmony, peace, that happiness had yet to be delivered. But Jada, what are you talking about? How is it that you are saying you followed the rules? You are a doting mother, a doting wife. No, you weren't. You didn't follow the rules. That's probably why it hasn't delivered yet. A doting wife? By whose definition have you been a doting wife? What does doting mean to you? Shame? Public humiliation? Deriding someone? Making them feel less than nothing? Because friend, if you think you follow the rules, I think maybe you got a faulty playbook. She says, on paper, it all looks grand. I had the beautiful family, the superstar husband, the lavish lifestyle, fame, fortune. I had my own career, the freedom and support to pursue creative outlets. The sweetest part was my children, Jaden, Willow, and my bonus son, Trey, my 3 favorite people in the world. They were hands down the best thing that ever happened to me. Yet none of that prevented me from hitting the wall I was speeding towards at 100 miles an hour, knowing full well this shit's gonna blow. Well, Jada, how is it that you are so profoundly surprised that life isn't going well for you? How is it that you are speeding towards a wall at 100 miles an hour? Because I think this is the thing that really bothers me. She's coming out right now writing this book that, everything was terrible and everything was horrible and I couldn't figure out how to get a handle on life and, I just was trying to get to 4 p.m. every day. This is news to us. I mean, it isn't news in the sense that, we all looked at the way she was carrying on life and being like, what is going on over there? But she would have had us believe that she had this beautiful family, that everything was lovely, that, you should really look into her life philosophies and you should really consider, trying to bring yourself up to her mental and emotional elevation. Because if you would try that, you too could have the great husband and the great family. You could be the sort of person that could sit around the red table and have these open conversations, but for a little effort on your part, you could have what she had, and all of us looked at what was going on there and we all were like, whoa, you guys need to maybe chill out on some of these open conversations. These seems a little bit destructive. But she had led herself to believe, or she wanted us all to believe, that she was living in an elevated mental mindset. Okay, so I'm feeling annoyed with her because I think, okay, but in reality, you knew you were a mess. We saw that you were a mess too, but why were you trying so hard to convince us that we should get on the crazy train with you? You're describing the fact that you knew you were a mess. So now I feel like, why should I jump on the train with you now, Jada? Because You've just told us, yeah, I was lying for years. I was making it look like everything was great, but really it was terrible. But now I'm going to tell you it was terrible, but like now I actually, like, I have the answers now. So listen to me now. Now I know. Now I've got the recipe for success. Well, why would we believe you now? She lets us know that she'd sought help everywhere that you can imagine, from goddess gatherings. What is that? To silent yoga retreats, backpacking alone, studying every religion she could think of. You name it, she says. I even went to Cuba and met with a padrino. That was intense. None of it offered a lasting solution. Okay, but probably because you consider goddess gatherings a legit idea for helping yourself not want to end it all. I'm pretty sure the goddess gatherings aren't going to be super helpful. I think the thing too that is surprising to me is that she calls herself a spiritual seeker in this prologue. But are you really? Because you're racing super quickly through all these things. And it would seem to me that that indicates you actually don't want it to work. Because if it works and you actually become a whole person, what do you have now? A healthy whole person. That's not exciting. You know, where will you pin your identity now if you aren't the tortured and angsty spiritual seeker? You know, I just feel like she's going from thing to thing to thing. Now I'm looking at this list of things and I'm like, okay, backpacking alone and goddess gatherings probably aren't going to pull you up from this deep depression. But are you even giving it a long enough go that you would know for sure this isn't going to work? You know, and that's what bothers me about these spiritual seekers. Like, I feel like there's a difference, I think, between somebody who is a spiritual seeker and somebody who's dabbling in spiritualism. You know, that's somebody who wants to keep trying the trendy thing, but they aren't really willing to find out, how do I fix what's happening with me? You know, and if you look really hard, you can find out what's going on. Right. But this foolishness of jumping from silent yoga retreats to the goddess gatherings, to the backpacking alone, to the running off to Cuba to meet with a padrino, which I don't even know what that is. It's like, of course it didn't have any lasting success. Then she wants to tell us that it's not going well with her and Will. Yeah, tell us something we don't know. Will and I weren't in a good place. We hadn't been for a while. I couldn't make it right no matter how hard I tried. We couldn't hear or see each other at all. Confiding in my close friends seemed unfair to them and to Will. And to me. So then I just decided to tell the whole world. That is the most stupid, boneheaded statement I've ever read. Yo, listen to this. Confiding in my close friends seemed unfair to them and to Will and me. So what was your solution then? Well, then my solution was to get a red table and plop him down and then degrade him. That seemed better than telling my close friends or, you know, having a quiet conversation with a counselor behind closed doors. Why would I do that? Why would I do that when I could get the whole world against Will? You know, and why would I do that when I could prop up myself and, you know, laud and praise my own decisions, you know, on my heroine's journey? Tell a couple of close friends, that wouldn't be fair to Will. What's fair for Will is if I publicly humiliate him. That's going to cause change for him. You know, that's what's going to finally get him to quit bugging me about the fact that I, you know, had a dalliance with somebody that was years and years and years my junior. You know, if I could just publicly humiliate him enough, he'd quit ragging me about it. Well, she goes on to describe some more of her despair. She says that by Thanksgiving, she'd really fallen into despair. She wanted to not be on this earth, and there was no point in living. She says that these thoughts were not completely new to her, but what was new was that now she was planning on how she could do it and make it look like it's a big accident. She says, for the sake of the kids, I wanted to fall off a cliff. And then people would think that it was just a big accident and no one would be any the wiser. Well, I'm pretty sure people know where you're at. I think that as you stagger through the day just trying to get to 4 p.m., raging out on everybody, being cruel, unkind, and miserable, it's probably a pretty good indicator that things weren't 100% okay with you. And you suddenly going off the cliff in your car, no one would have believed that was, you know, not on purpose. She says that she wanted to do this for the sake of her kids. And she just kept telling herself, if I remained the way I was, what good would I be to them anyway? And besides, I told myself, they'd be okay. They'd have their father, a devoted great dad. Their being okay, in my mind, depended on me doing a really good job of making my death appear to be conclusively accidental. Really? Okay. I mean, what in the world? I know that when you're not in a good frame of mind, you can make excuses for behavior that no one would believe. Like, nobody who is healthy and mentally and emotionally whole would ever say, oh, well, taking yourself out will make everybody happier. No, that'll make everybody feel way worse than they already feel right now, you know? And I also think if you're so worried about your kids finding out that you were in such a place, why are you telling us about it now? You know, because now, if anything were to ever happen to her now by accident, you know, she's lost that play. I guess she feels like she's so far on the other side of this, you know, now that she's found plant medicine, that it doesn't really matter if she, you know, lets the world know that this is where she was and this is where she was planning. But if anything ever happens to her, the whole family's going to be like, oh, well, now we know what it was, you know? And it's just so much drama to be like, okay, let me tell you. I was having thoughts, and, you know, because I'm such a giving and caring person, I wasn't just going to take myself out without considering everybody else. No, of course I was going to take myself out and make sure it was an accident so that they wouldn't think I'd actually taken myself out. And the reason that is because I am so concerned about everybody else. I'm a giver. I give. You know, I'm people pleaser probably would be the best way to describe me. I just need to make sure everyone's okay before I ever even consider myself. Yes, of course, taking myself out would mean that their world changes, but really for the better, because I didn't have much to give them anyway. You know, we couldn't carry on like this. And I just want us all sit up for a moment. I just want us to sit for a moment and just think about, you know, that even in my despair, I was so willing to consider their needs. Even as I was on the brink, I was still thinking about other people, because that's who I am. That's who I am. She says, as grim as it may sound, the world had become less heavy now that she had a solution and a plan for her own exit. And so she was really resolved. The problem was that she was scared that she'd drive off of a cliff and then not actually die. And then she would just be, in her words, disfigured and paralyzed. And of course, that would be a worse nightmare for everybody. You know, worse than losing her would be to have a paralyzed mom. Who wants that? Yuck. She says clearly she was going to need to find some steeper cliffs somewhere. And she was thinking about maybe driving up to Big Sur. Maybe there was a cliff there she could fall off of. Literally, WTF. What are you talking about? But before she could actually go through her plan, who should show up in the universe? God, don't you love that when the universe shows up for you? I mean, who the F is the universe? And in her own living room, no less, the universe condescended to come to Jada Pinkett Smith's living room and help her out. She said that her kids had some friends by the names of Moises and Mateo. They wanted to let her know that their dad Cesar had been to Peru and that he'd had this really excellent and exciting experience in Peru. And it had really changed him for the better. Because Cesar apparently was also a spiritual seeker, just like Jada Pinkett Smith. And so she could trust what he found because he's just like her. He wants to better his existence. He wants to better his life. Okay, so what do you think the big intervention was for Cesar in Peru? Ayahuasca. Okay, Jada, let me just tell you something. You were about 3 years too late on the revelation that you got into ayahuasca. Yeah, you and literally every other celebrity on the planet. You know, so it's like, don't show up now and be like, you'll never guess what it was that I found. Wait, can you guess it? You won't be able to. You won't. Guess what? Ayahuasca. Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay, now you're going to tell us how you stayed in the lodge and, was throwing up and sweating for 4 days. And, your spirit guides came and you saw things and, the negative energy that was pulling you physically down is now, you threw that up literally in this bucket and you threw up your depression in that bucket. I mean, it's just like, all right, we've heard it. We know. It's just, it's like, lady, you're too late on this bandwagon. She's desperately trying to figure out how she can make everybody okay with who she is. So she thinks that by telling us how she went through this arduous physical journey with the plant medicine, you're going to be totally fine with all the other things she's been doing leading up to this because she was willing to put herself in such a physically difficult position, all on the journey to find herself. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but your journey to self-love is of little to no importance to me because in its wake, you destroyed so many people. I'm glad that you feel like you're okay now, but what about all the people bleeding out? What about that? Are you so selfish? That's the thing. She wants us to believe she's so giving, loving, and kind. She never disregards anybody. You know, that comes out of one side of her mouth. I care so much about the people I love. Yet out of the other side of her mouth, she's going to go on to tell us, but you do you, babe. If you got to just, mow some people down, sorry. The universe needs you to do that so you can love yourself. She says that she was listening to the boys and she was just becoming very hopeful, very curious. As it happened, Cesar was in town and she was eager to hear about his story firsthand. So she planned to meet him at his house. He gave a full graphic description of a life-changing experience. He explained that ayahuasca is a drink made from a plant that comes from the Amazon. His journey sounded daunting as he told me about it. Cesar, who is Colombian, speaks with a heavy musical accent. He described how ayahuasca was a deep psychological healer for him in ways that he thought were impossible. He said it removed energy that masqueraded as physical ailments. I'd known Cesar for a while, and I'd never seen his eyes as clear, as bright as they were at this meeting. He was evidence that oh my gosh, now she's going to call it Aya. He was evidence that Aya isn't some newfangled recreational drug trip. Actually, it isn't a drug at all. It's medicine, and has been for centuries. Well, Jada, that's what they said about opioids too. It's not a drug, it's a medicine. Take as much as you need, you won't get addicted. And I know that this is not an addicting situation. I don't think anybody's ever become addicted to ayahuasca, but the idea that this stuff can't be dangerous for you, because it's medicine, is as old as a snake oil salesman. Anyway, the light in his eyes is really what inspired her. Look at his bright and dancing eyes. That couldn't be the fever. She says that she started asking around and she was surprised by how quickly the universe showed up again. And this time it was opening the door for her to meet Mother Aya. Did you know? There's a whole mom for it. A therapist friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, I've done it several times." Several times? How deep were her demons that she had to go back for multiple trips to the ayahuasca throwing up factory? She says that she couldn't believe it. This is available right here in California, she said. I don't have to go to Peru. She explained that a medicine woman that she had worked with lived 15 minutes away and she could arrange a journey for me as soon as I was ready. All right, let's just say something real quick. If you are so desperate that you think that you're about to drive your car off a cliff in an attempt to hide the fact that you're exiting life on purpose, I feel like you would not be like, well, nothing is working and I'm literally planning my escape route. But now this person tells me that there's something in Peru that can help me. But it's so far, I don't know. I'm not really sure if I want to do that. If you really believe that this was the be all and end all, it's either ayahuasca or the cliff, you're going to tell me that you'd be like, I want to, but Peru, it's far though. It's far. If you were like, I love my babies, I love my kids, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to stop myself. I can't get these thoughts out of my head. And then somebody said, go to Peru. And you're like, a plane ride though. I know I've flown on planes like a million times in my life. I know I'm traveling all the time. As a celebrity, I never stay at home. I'm always going somewhere. But Peru, I don't know. Oh, you say I can do it in California 15 minutes away? I can probably fit that in. So she says that she arranged her ceremony really fast. At this point, my level of desperation was so all-consuming, all I could think was, what do I have to lose? If it killed me, great, mission accomplished. If not, thank God, or the universe, whichever way you want to go with that. Yet here I am 1 month later, just after New Year's Eve, coincidentally the 14th anniversary of my marriage to Will. What a coincidence. She didn't plan this at all. Sitting in my car at the top of this hill, debating whether I should drive down this driveway or not. And then a memory resurfaces. So there she is at the top of the driveway, and she wants you to know about this searing memory that completely changed her ability to move forward. Can you even guess what it could be? What illustration could she use right now where she's just right on the brink of making change happen, but she just can't quite do it? What would be a really meaningful and deep description of this kind of like, do I go or not? So then she tells us this story, and she really wants us to get like the searing reality of this in our hearts, because this is really an original illustration. She tells us about a time on a hot, muggy Baltimore summer day when she'd gone down to the quarry and there was a series of high dives and she climbed to the top one. She stood there for hours trying to get the strength to jump. She watched person after person jump. They all encouraged her to jump. She just couldn't do it. Then her mother called from way down at the bottom. Her mother called and said, "Come on, we gotta go." And then She gathered her strength. She summoned her gumption. And dang it, don't you know, she jumped. Of course, it hurt when she hit that water. That sting hurt. But you know what was better? You know what overrode that sting? The triumph of knowing she could do it. To jump off that diving board. To just do it. Just jump off the diving board. Just go. She felt free. She felt proud. She'd done it. And it was that searing experience that helped her to get out of her car and walk down to Mother Iowa, who was going to help her on her journey towards wholeness. This is just like super flimsy writing, okay? You know what? I'm not looking to be petty, all right? But that's the best you could do. Like, just even skip it. Like, then just jump off the diving board. That's your big example of like what changed it for you. It's just like, that's not good writing. Like, just skip the whole story. It's just like you're really dragging it out here. Okay, so she says, with that memory, I mustered the courage to get out of the car after grabbing the apples, oranges, and flowers that I've brought as an offering to Mother Earth and Mother Aya and to the other divine energies out there willing to look over me tonight. This is really worse than any garbage I had prepared myself for. I mean, I knew it was going to be a lot of drivel, but are you for real right now? Then I got out of the car toting my packages of apples, oranges, and flowers for Mother Earth and Mother Aya, all the divine energies looking out for me tonight. Well, if you think all these divine energies are looking out for you all the time, which energy is making you want to drive the car over a cliff? How come the divine energies can't intervene for you there? Did you not give them enough oranges? Okay, so she's on her hands and knees at the top of the driveway praying. Please show me the truth I need to see, but please be gentle. Please, please show me that if there's something wrong with me, and show me how to heal it, and give me the courage to do so. Okay, I am never going to deride someone's desperate praying. Really, like, all sarcasm aside, my heart goes out for her, that if she was struggling so badly, and she's looking for a solution, if she's a genuine seeker, my heart goes out for her, right? But the thing is that who are you praying to, Jada? The universe? Just sending out vibes and being like, help me, but who are you asking for help? I think that God honors the weakness of our heart. He honors the motivation of our soul. He sees us before we see him, of course. And I think that the fact that she's not driven her car over a cliff speaks to how much he loves her and how much he does not want that for her, But the thing is, she refuses to ascribe the help she's receiving to God Almighty. It's the universe. It's Mother Earth. It's Mother Aya. It's the divine energies. It's like, if you've tried everything, have you tried God? Like Jesus Christ, God, the Father, the Holy Spirit? Like, have you tried the Trinity yet? Because this is not, she says she's trying so many things. She's circling the same thing with different names, right? And my heart goes out to her that she's praying to some energy. How is the energy going to help? Okay, well, she gets back in the car, she takes a deep breath, and she proceeds down the driveway, remembering Cesar's words. Once you go in, you can't change your mind. No matter how hard it might get, the only way out is the way through. She says, before I can tell you what transpired over the next 4 nights, and about the even more perilous but magnificent adventure that was to begin there, I must go back to the beginning. One of the biggest lessons I've learned, which is the main reason I wrote this book, is how important it is to share our journeys to self-worth. Oh God, if everybody would just quit sharing their journey to self-worth and just do it and shut up about it already. She says that returning to the scene of the deepest betrayals of our heart, buried in our origin story, is a harrowing process. It's like crawling on our stomach through a jungle of thorns and roses. The drama. A lot of stories await us. In the words of Clarissa Pinkola Estes, whose Women Who Run with the Wolves has been a Bible to me since I was 19 years old, I am a well-written upon woman. Most of us are. Most of us as women, to one degree or another, don't recognize the insidious ways that we're made to feel unworthy. Give me strength. I cannot with this language. You allow people to write upon you. You allow people to tell you what your dignity and worth is. Okay? So enough already of this, all women just go through life and everyone's just trying to stomp their throat all day long. Not in the US, they're not. Maybe take a trip to the Middle East if you're not quite sure your worth as a woman. You were blessed to be born in the United States of America, where your worth and dignity is always on everybody's minds. and it's just so annoying, and it's so much like, how many times are you going to say the same trite things that we've all heard and we've all moved past? Your worth and dignity are intact in this country, okay? Nobody's out to get you. No one's trying to stomp your worth. Now, you might have had some individuals in your life that were unkind to you. Most likely you did. You live in a sinful world. You might have had some individuals that didn't treat you with respect. You may have dated some men that were jerks, okay? But that's your experience. That's your life. To just make this blanket statement about, as women, we're just fighting for our worth and dignity. Are we? Or are you putting yourself in relationships and with people who don't respect you as a human being? And are you treating people with respect so that they will then in return treat you with respect? You drag somebody out to a red table talk and expose them to the whole world, and then you say, I don't understand why he won't treat me with worth and dignity. I just embarrassed him to the world. You know, it's like, are you treating people with worth and dignity? What about Will's worth? How about how he feels loved? For somebody who is so concerned about how victimized she's been by the world, she seems to have no care or concern about how she is processing relationships. What is she imprinting on people's hearts and souls? Now we come to a passage that is like so much utter trash, so much BS. I'm wondering if you guys can help me understand what I'm about to read. Read it a couple of times. Didn't get it. Let's collectively hold hands and try to get through this together. My belief is that every woman is worthy, a walking treasure, and deserves to live her life as the heroine of her own story. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, I should hope that you have that kind of idea about people, all right? I think we're both tracking on that statement. And then this is where we fall off the cliff. A woman has a right to her adventure, even if it means courting her shadows as guides to her brightest light. And she has a right to her pitfalls as well as her triumphs, and to the wisdom gained that leads to her self-actualization. When we as women have the courage to find keys to the treasure chest of ourselves, we find divine freedom, a freedom that is not whimsical. And with this, our lives are deliberately and unapologetically crafted by our own hands. What is she even talking about? We find a divine energy, a divine freedom, a freedom that is not whimsical. What the are you talking about? If you want to lead me down a road towards this enlightenment that you have, you're going to have to start using phrases that resonate with human beings. Okay? I don't know what that means. I don't know about a freedom that is not whimsical, but that is also a divine energy. I'm sorry, I didn't go to the goddess meeting. Could you just tell me what you mean? What are you talking about? And what is this about, a woman has a right to her adventures, even if it means courting her shadows as guides to her brightest light? That doesn't make any sense. What you're really saying is, on my way to the person who I want to be, I'm allowed to do some crazy, jacked up shit because it feels good. And if that's going to help me love myself better by doing the things that make me feel alive, so be it. And you're going to have to be okay with it because I'm trying to find my brightest light. I'm trying to find my brightest light, which is why I'm playing in the shadows. Does that make sense to you? Oh, it doesn't? Well, it made sense to me. So that's how it's going to have to be. She has a right to her pitfalls as well as her triumphs, and to the wisdom gained that leads to her self-actualization. That is the most self-centered garbage statement I have ever read in my life. I have a right to my pitfalls. I have a right to destruction if it means that in the end I have reached self-actualization. And what even is self-actualization? You hear that term all the time. What is that? Is that when you've done all the things you ever wanted to do and you refuse to have anybody say, hey, pump the brakes, what you're doing is destructive? Does that mean that I just get to do whatever, whenever? That's self-actualization. I've actually become the self that nobody can stop. Is that what that means? I mean, I don't know a context for this kind of stupidity. She says, my hope is that you will be encouraged and strengthened by the journey that I'm about to share with you. Okay. Well, we will be encouraged and strengthened as we find out what we don't want to be. Thank you for giving us that roadmap. And then she says this. And I'm like, did you ask Meghan Markle to write this sentence for you? The archetypal heroine's journey is less of a linear quest to go off and slay dragons and save damsels, as we know so well from the hero's journey paradigm, but more of a spiral out of chaos and into order, saving the damsel within ourselves, where each woman can learn how to be her own savior. And any man or woman, or any pronoun that fits, who loves her can learn how to support her in that. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what that feels like? It feels like she cut up a bunch of sentences from Meghan Markle's podcasts, and then she took Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and then she like cut up a bunch of phrases, put them in a bag, shook it up, and then laid out all the sentences and was like, okay, good, that'll suffice for that. I mean, what is this? The spiral out of order and into chaos, the archetypal heroine's journey, going off to slay dragons. We're all here to save ourselves. Any woman, any man, any pronoun. Pick a lane, lady. Which way are you going with this? Okay, so then she wants to let us know that this is a book about a woman's quest to find the power of unstoppable, indestructible love for herself. The key to her true empowerment and the acceptance of the journey that delivered her there. And here we go. This is the rabid, desperate attempt to convince the world that what she did and what we've seen her do is all just beautiful chaos, just a beautiful mess. Just the crooked and winding and whimsical, but still freeing and full of divine energy journey that it takes to become a queen. All right? You don't become a queen by, treating people with dignity and respect. God forbid it. You better take out that sword and don't slay dragons. Why don't you slay your husband? Slay all the people in your way. And while you're at it, make sure you take ayahuasca. Because without it, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find all the enlightenment that's out there. Now, of course, I'm not a therapist, says Jada Pinkett Smith. But if you would like to have success and enlightenment, I can give you the steps. So who's with me on this journey with Jada Pinkett Smith? We're going to need our own puke buckets because whether she realizes it or not, she is our ayahuasca journey. All right, I'll see you guys later. And I'm looking forward to this one. Bye.